Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Bahroz. I'm a career and personal finance coach. In this video, I'll share a sample of Amazon Work Style Assessment Test and the approach you should use to ace it. I have expertise in this area because I've successfully coached and trained numerous candidates applying to Amazon. Many of these candidates, after succeeding, return to share their experience, including the questions they encountered in the test and in the interviews. By the way, if you are planning to prepare and sit down for an Amazon interview and need help, you can book a session with me using the link that I will leave in the description of this video. And if you want to know what a session looks like, I will leave a link to a recorded session that I had with one of the candidates who was applying to Amazon, and I helped him prepare, which you can see here or I will leave in the description of this video. Now in this video, I will walk you through the exact test one of my candidates received. I'll guide you through the test setup, show you sample questions, and explain how to answer them. Not just answer them, ace them. Before we dive in, here's the most important tip to ace this test or any Amazon test, which is practice, practice, and practice. To help you with that, what I've done is I've sifted through the web and found this great website that offers real-time practice test. It is crucial to practice not just sample questions, but a full test to really get a feel for it. I will leave the link for that website in the description of this video. I highly recommend you check it out. Now, quick note, if you find any value from this video, I have to ask for you, which is one, hit the like button as this keeps me motivated and helps me improve the quality and quantity of content that I post on this channel. And second, subscribe to the channel because on this channel, I post content pertaining to how you can achieve success in your career and with your personal finances. So if any of these topics are of interest to you, this channel is right for you. Now let's get started with the test setup. First, you need to create an account and log in. After logging in, you'll be taken to a privacy and agreement page where you'll need to check a box to acknowledge you've read and accepted the statements. Once you hit submit, you'll be taken to what to expect page. It's important to read the instructions carefully here. Key things to note are the test isn't timed, but it can take up to 35 to 45 minutes. It's recommended to complete the test in one sitting, but if you can't, the test will save itself and save your progress. This test includes 3 parts: work simulation, work style assessment, and co-worker conversation. But for this video, we'll focus only on the work style assessment. I have separate videos made on work simulation and co-worker conversation. You can check them out in the Amazon hiring process playlist that is on my channel. Next, you'll move through some additional instructions regarding things like the back button, logging in again, language, etc. Next is a call out that what is there in the section, which is this section asks you or your approach to work. Then you'll reach an example question to help you understand what to expect and how to answer. So you'll get an example. And here are the instructions on the type of questions you will get. Each question will display 2 statements. Choose the statement that best matches your work style. If you are unsure about which statement to choose, follow your initial reaction to choose one and keep going. There are no right and wrong answers. Now here's the sample question. My team relies on me to check for mistakes. This is statement 1. And the other statement is, I'll occasionally make easy to fix mistakes. Easy to fix mistakes. Under each of these statements, you are provided 2 options, most like me or more like me. And you can only pick one out of the 4 available options, which is 2 under each. So here, first, you need to pick the statement you agree with the most. And then you select the degree to which you agree, which is either it's most likely or more likely. Here again, make sure to use Amazon leadership principles to answer these questions. And secondly, make sure to be consistent in your responses, because same element statements can be asked or get repeated in different questions to see if you are consistent in your responses or not. One tip to use here is elimination method, especially when it's not clear which option to pick. For instance, in case of this particular example, I'll occasionally make easy to fix mistakes is worse option. then my team relies on me to check for mistakes. So I will pick the my team relies on me to check for mistakes side over the other one. Under this option, I will not pick the extreme positive approach that is most like me, rather somewhat balanced approach that is more like me. This is also reflective of Amazon's leadership principle, earn trust. That is, you are someone who the team can trust. Here is another example. Statement 1, I am the first to notice an error. Statement 2, I'll occasionally make easy to fix mistakes. Here, if you notice, the statement from question 1 gets repeated, which, as I said, it to gauge whether you are consistent in your responses or not, and hence it is being repeated. Here again, going my way of elimination, I will cross out the option I'll occasionally make easy to fix mistakes and select I am the first to notice an error. Now, in terms of more or most like me, I would pick the extreme approach, that is most like me, which is to show that you have strong attention to detail and that you are meticulous. This is also reflective of Amazon's principle, insist on high standards. That is, you ensure the quality of work is high and error-free. Now let's take another example. Statement 1, I feel very lucky for what I have. Statement 2, I can't take credit for all my success. Here again, going by elimination, I would pick statement 2, where you are sharing credit for your success with others. We don't know who, but others. As against this first statement where you are simply calling out luck as the key factor. And under I can't take credit for all my success, I would pick more likely, so kind of a balanced approach. This is also reflective of Amazon's leadership principle of earn trust, where you have reliance on your team and you're self-critical of yourself. Now, an important call out, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to practice more questions like these, I have sifted through the web and found this amazing website that has sample questions and practice tests that are representative of the kind of questions you will get in the final test. I highly recommend you check them out. I will leave the link to that website in the description of this video. Now let's get rolling into other sample questions. Okay, the first question that we have is two options. I usually deal with problems as they come. And the next one is most projects need a structured plan. So we will pick one. Here, deal with problems as they come means that you are not structured, you're not organized, you're just doing it or you're winging it. It's rather better to be organized and structured so you can plan better, so you're never surprised. And hence I will pick most projects need a structured plan. And it says most, like there could be things which doesn't have a structured plan, but they are an exception. So most projects need a structured plan. And here I will pick the extreme option, which is most like me, because for the most part, you should have a structured plan. You should be organized when working. The next one we have is I'm always looking for new ways to do things. This is one option. Constant change is exhausting. This one is also very simple. You need to be someone who is adaptable to change, who welcomes change, who drives change. So I'm always looking for new ways to do things is you embracing change. So here, since I've picked I'm always looking for new ways to do things over constant change is exhausting, I will be picking between the two options of most like me and more like me. Most like me, which is an extreme scenario, because I'm always looking for new ways to do things. I'm always looking for way how we can get better. This also relates to the leadership principle, which is invent and simplify. So you're looking for innovative way to do things and simplifying things. Next one is I persist until a task is done. I'm about as reliable as everyone else on my team. Here, the leadership principle I can think of is insist on the highest standards. And you can only insist on the highest standards if you are better than your team, if you are better than the average. So you cannot pick I'm about as reliable as everyone else on my team, because then you're kind of an average. You have to be someone who raises the bar. That is what's meant by insist on highest standards, because it says leaders have relentlessly high standards. Many people may think these standards are unreasonably high. Leaders are continually raising the bar and drive their teams to deliver high quality products, services, and processes. Leaders ensure that defects do not get sent down the line and that problems are fixed so they stay fixed. So I will pick I persist until a task is done. And here I would pick the extreme situation, which is most like me, because I need to tell them that I'm someone who always insists on high standards and make sure that the task gets done fully. The next one is I'll occasionally make easy to fix mistakes. And the other option we have is my team relies on me to check for mistakes. Of course, this one is also very simple. If we just go by power of elimination, I'll occasionally make easy to fix mistakes is wrong one. You're not someone who should be making mistakes even if they're easy to fix. So I will pick my team relies on me to check mistakes. And here I can pick more like me versus most like me. So I don't need to pick an extreme situation. I can just pick more like me, which means yes, not always, but for the most part, my team relies on me to check mistakes. So more like me. Next one, I prefer to focus on the task at hand rather than how others feel about it, or I consider others' feelings even when it's not necessary. Here, the leadership principle that I see in play is earn trust. So you cannot earn trust if you don't care for how others are feeling and you just focus on your task, because you are not a sole player. At any given point in time, you're always working in team. There is someone who's receiving your work, or there's someone who's giving work to you, or you're working or sharing work. There are stakeholders at all given point in time. So saying I prefer to focus on the task at hand rather than how others feel about it, I think is wrong. But the other one, which is I consider others' feelings even when it's not necessary, is also a very extreme situation. It's important to consider others' feeling, but only when it's necessary. Like not always, not when it's not necessary. And hence, while I will pick I consider others' feeling even when it's not necessary, I will pick more like me and I won't pick most like me, which is the extreme situation. Next one, I think about past failures as much as most people. Or it's easy to bounce back from failure. Of course, it's easy to bounce back from failure. I'm not someone who's hung up on the past, especially more than most people. So it's easy to bounce back from failure. This is the side I'll pick, and I'll pick most like me, which is I need to tell them that I'm someone who finds it very easy to just bounce back from failure and get into the next task and learn from the mistakes and get rolling, as against being hung up. So I'll pick most like me. Next one, I try to complete my tasks before I end my day, or it makes me feel good when a plan works out. Now here is a tricky one because both of them look good. It makes me feel good when a plan works out. I try to complete my task before I end my day. So which one is worse? Let's go with elimination. It makes me feel good when a plan works out. Well, if a plan doesn't work out, it's fine. It should still make you feel okay or good. No, like not exciting, but still it should be good. You shouldn't be hating your work if the plan doesn't go as, or things don't go as they were planned, right? So maybe I will eliminate this option and I will pick the one I try to complete the task before I end my day, which is a safer option. And since I'm picking the safer option, I don't need to pick an extreme. I'll pick more like me. Next one, double checking my work is built into my process, or I take a personal interest in others' feelings. I would say double checking my work is built into my process. This relates to insisting on higher standards, which is a leadership principle. And I would pick most like me. Like this should be given. You should always be double checking your work. And it would be brilliant if you have a system or a process that double checks your work. Next one, I adjust quickly to new settings, or I put failures behind me quickly. Both of them are good. You should be putting failures behind you quickly, or you should be adjusting quickly to new settings. Last time we picked you being adaptable to change, you being okay with change. So I will pick I adjust quickly to new settings just to be consistent, and I would pick most like me here. Because it is okay if at times you do get stuck on a failure. Next one, I usually make careful plans to avoid problems versus meeting commitments is a top priority. Here I would pick meeting commitments is a top priority because it relates to deliver results, which is a leadership principle. I usually make careful plans to avoid problems. Yeah, this one is also good, but if I have to pick one, I would pick meeting commitments as a top priority because you're someone who delivers results, which is also a leadership principle. And here I will pick most like me. Next one, I don't think much about other people's feelings. Rechecking your work is a usually waste of time. Going by elimination, no, rechecking your work is good because again, you insist on higher standards. and I don't think much about others people's feelings. Well, both are bad options. I think between the two, I would pick rechecking your work is usually a waste of time. So if I'm in a scenario where I have to recheck work or I have to care about someone's feelings, I would care about their feelings first before I need to engage that energy or time into rechecking the work. So I will pick rechecking your work is a usually waste of time, but I will pick more like me, not most like me. So essentially what you need to do here is every time you have two options, you pick which one is negative. You take the negative out, pick the positive. If both are positive, then you pick the most positive or you take out the least positive and then you pick most like me. If both are negative, then you pick or cancel out the most negative, pick the least negative, and then pick more like me. So when both are negative, whichever you pick, you'll have to pick more like me. When both are positive, whichever you pick most like me. Next one, I don't dwell on my mistakes, or I'm energized by change. Here I will pick I'm energized by change, which is a positive statement, versus I don't dwell on my mistakes. Now, this one is also positive, but you need to learn from your mistakes. So it's an incomplete sentence. You can't really say if it's positive or negative, but I am energized by change is truly positive, and I will pick most like me. Next one, I do my best even on trivial tasks, or I usually create a plan before starting my work. Going by power of elimination, I do my best even on trivial tasks. I think this is the one that I would pick because it's okay if there is a plan missing before you start your work. It's not detrimental or it's not a bad habit still, but starting every task or doing your best at every task is very important. It's a good habit. And again, it insists on higher standards. So I would pick this one and I would pick most like me, which is I try to do my best even if it's a trivial task, because it says I do my best even. So I do my best across, but even on trivial tasks. Next one, I usually double check my work versus I take time to better understand my co-workers. Here again, the issue is both the options are kind of positive. However, in order to be consistent, last time we talked about double checking our work and all. So I would pick this, which is I usually double check my work, and I'll pick most like me. Because I usually double check my work also relates to the leadership principle of ownership. Next one, obstacles do not stop my progress for long. I adapt to change quickly. I would pick adapt to change quickly, again to be consistent with what we've been picking previously, and I will pick most like me. There can be obstacles that come in your way, and yes, they shouldn't stop you, but you'll have to rework the plan, you have to redo the thing, and hence course correct. But I adapt to change quickly is like a very easy one. It's a simple and a clear one, and hence I will pick most like me. Next one, I always plan and prioritize my work tasks, or I usually can be counted on to get the job done. I would pick I usually can be counted on to get the job done over prioritization, because prioritization is important, but it's more related to you. Even if you prioritize something which is not important, but you get everything done, that is more important. Even if you do it in the wrong order, you do the most or most important work later and the less important work earlier. But if you get everything done and you can be counted on, then that is the option I pick. And I will pick most like me. Next one, checking your work is important, or I can sense when others are upset. Now, given previously I have picked a couple of times that you need to double check your work, you need to recheck your work and all. So I think I've made that point quite a lot in this assessment test already. I can sense when others are upset, I think is important as well. And I would pick this one for a change over checking my work, just to bring in some sensitivity as well. Otherwise, it may seem towards the end of the test result that I just picked everything which was related to my work, my thing, me double checking it, versus not caring about how others are thinking. And here again, I would pick most like me, because yes, it's good to sense when others are upset. Next one, usually I don't dwell on the past, versus I'm often the first one to try new things. I will pick I'm often the first one to try new things, because this one is more important versus dwelling. It's okay to dwell at times a little bit on the past, like it's not a deal breaker, but I'm often first to try things. You're someone who's adaptable to change and all is very important and embraces it. Most like me here. Making a detailed plan jumpstarts my momentum versus I can always be trusted to fulfill my obligations. Earn trust is far more important. It is a leadership principle as well. So I'll pick I can always be trusted to fulfill my obligations, and I will pick most like me. Next one, I usually take time to find out how others are feeling versus I notice details that most other people miss. I think I've picked a lot around double checking my work, not missing a mistake and all. And I've not picked anything around having feelings or caring about others. Here it talks about I usually take time to find out how others are feeling. I think because, as I said, you will be working in a group setting, this part will be also important. So just to kind of have a balanced approach as well. I know I talk about being consistent with the answers, but I think we've picked I notice details that most others people miss, and check your work and double check your work couple of times. So I've made that point very strong already in the assessment test. I haven't made this point where I work with the teams and understand their feelings enough. So I will pick most like me under I usually take time to find out how others are feeling. I sometimes focus too much on my past mistakes versus frequent changes are usually disruptive. Again, I prefer to go towards the change side, embracing change versus sometimes focus, less focus, not a lot focus on past mistakes and all. Yeah, sometimes you focus, sometimes you doesn't focus. Like, this is not a definitive one where I would say this is right, but frequent changes are usually disruptive 100%. I sometimes focus too much on past mistakes, maybe 80%. So I pick frequent changes are usually disruptive and most like me. A plan increases efficiency versus I would never miss a deadline without a good reason. You being trustworthy is far more important. I would never miss a deadline without a good reason, and put most like me here. I make an effort to ask people how they are doing versus people should take more time reviewing their work. Again, here, as I said, I've picked enough about double checking work and that people should be creating a process around their work and checking their work again, versus I make an effort to ask people how they are doing. So I will pick this one, most like me here, just to create a balance between the approach that I work comfortably with people versus that I am very careful with my work and double checking it. As I said, I've made that point enough. It would be good to pick some answers around I make an effort to ask people how they are doing. Because people should take more time reviewing their work is like important, but what if you create a system or a process where you don't really need to take more time to review your work? It can be reviewed as part of the initial plan already, or there is a system or a process in place which kind of reviews your work. Now, of course, that will take some time as well, but does it have to take more time, less time? It's not important. It's just that it should be reviewed. So this statement is not also very conclusive for me. While I make an effort to ask people how they are doing is very much conclusive. And also, as I said, I need to create a balanced approach. So I'll pick this one and pick most like me. Next one, new situations are uncomfortable, or I sometimes have a hard time putting failure behind me. No, new situations are not uncomfortable. Or rather, you've always been I'm making this. Now, new situations should not be uncomfortable. You should be comfortable with change. So this is a no option. I sometimes have hard time putting failure behind me. This is also a bad one as well. But I'll still pick this one. I sometimes have hard time putting failure behind me, and I will pick more like me. Again, as I said, both are bad options, but I've been very clear throughout the assessment test that I'm someone who's comfortable with change. I cannot suddenly pick new situations are uncomfortable. I am comfortable. Next one, the key to completing tasks is having a detailed plan versus I'm known for getting work done. Here I'll pick I'm known for getting work done, which means I earn trust, versus the key to completing tasks is having a detailed plan. Yeah, does it have to be a detailed or less detailed plan? Yes, it should be detailed, which is better. But if it's a less detailed plan, it's still some tasks are still doable. But I'm known for getting work done is a very good rank. It's a very good thing with regards to earn trust leadership principle. So I'll pick this one and most like me. Next one, I sometimes notice if things are missing versus I maintain awareness of team's morale. Again, this is about checking versus the team, and just to create balance, I'll pick I maintain awareness of team's morale, and I'll pick most like me. I've said or picked enough around I sometimes notice if things are missing versus I maintain awareness of the team morale. So I will pick this one. Again, both of them are equally good options, and as I said, I want to create a balance. So I also come across as someone who's team player versus just always picking my work, my thing, me double checking stuff and all. Next one, setbacks usually don't impact my effort versus I like surprises. I like surprises. Yes, no, really doesn't have to be like, you don't have to like surprise every time. At times it's good to have things planned versus everything be a surprise. I would pick setbacks usually don't impact my effort and pick most like me. Next one, I rarely miss deadlines versus I produce my best work when working from a detailed plan. Well, no, even if the plan is not detailed, you should be producing your best work. So this is still like a not 100% complete statement. I rarely miss deadlines is something which is very important. You earn trust like this. It means you're on task, you take ownership. So I will pick this one and pick most like me. Next one, getting the details right is critical to making a point versus I cheer my coworkers when they feel down. Yeah, getting the details right is good, but you will never have the complete information. Not everything will be perfectly right for you to make a point. At times, you'll have to make a point with average amount of data available with you, not complete information. Rather, this is one of the questions or leadership principles, which is are right a lot, which is you need to be right a lot. You need to make use of your judgment. You don't need to always rely on complete information, complete data. So I would pick I cheer up my coworkers when they feel down, also because I'm trying to create a balance, because previously I've been checking more around, I double check my work and all. So I'll pick this one and most like me. Next one, I like variety in my work versus I focus more on future possibilities than past problems. I like variety in my work is related to change versus I focus more on future possibilities than past problems. They are both good. I've picked a lot around change already, so I think I'll pick this one. I focus more on future possibilities than past problems. It's good one and complete in itself, and I will pick most like me. Here, planning only slows me down versus I need to be reminded of deadlines. Now, reminded of deadlines is a bad option because we've been saying or picking the option where we say, I'm always on time, I match deadlines, I meet deadlines. Now, you can't certainly say that you need to be reminded on deadlines. So, this one is not an option. Planning only slows me down. This one is also a bad option to pick, but I will pick more like me here because it is still better option versus picking I need to be reminded of deadlines. And yeah, at times maybe you don't have a plan, you just kind of have to get the thing done, so you have more bias for action versus just trying to do an analysis paralysis. So I'll pick more like me here. Next one, it's easy for me to recognize others' feelings versus I check my work for quality on highly visible projects. Yes, on highly visible projects it's very important to check for quality, and hence this is like you insisting on high standards, which is a leadership principle. So I'll pick this one and I'll pick most like me. Next one, I recover from setbacks about as quickly as others versus routines bring me a sense of calm. No, you should not be comfortable with routines, rather you should be comfortable with change. I recover from setbacks about as quickly as others is a better option. I'll pick this one and I'll pick most like me. Next one, typically I'm disciplined about getting work done versus every plan should include room for revisions and updates. Yeah, I would pick I'm disciplined about getting work done because we've been kind of hammering this point already that we are disciplined with doing work, getting things done on time. So I'll pick this one and I'll pick most like me here. The other option is good as well. Every plan should include room for revisions and updates, but it's not like will make or break the thing. Like if I have to pick between the two, I would pick typically I'm disciplined about getting work done and I'll pick most like me. Next one is I always step in to help when others are struggling versus I spot errors that others overlook. Here I will pick I'll always step in to help others when they're struggling because this is how I earn trust. This is how I show ownership and kind of help people. I know I spot errors that others overlook is also something which is important, but I think this one is more important because you kind of are not just focusing on your work but also focusing on the work of the team and making sure you have ownership beyond just your work altogether, which is the ownership leadership principle. Next one is change makes me nervous. No, this is a negative one, so we won't pick this. Setbacks are hard to manage. This is also a negative one, so now both are negative, so you'll have to pick between the two. We've been talking about that you are very comfortable with change, so we can't pick change makes me nervous, because you've always picked the option where you said change you are comfortable with. So we are only left with the option of picking setbacks are hard to manage. Now, since both were negative statements, we won't pick most like me, we'll pick more like me. So setbacks are hard to manage, more like me. And then you get a questionnaire which says any information that you provide here is kind of a survey, will not be used to score your assessment. We use this data after the hiring process to improve candidates' experience. Think about the assessment you just completed and tell us what you think about each statement below. So these are different statements where they want you to agree and disagree, and this is in relation to the how was your experience. So just be truthful here, don't need to overthink this, and just pick as you feel and fill in the survey. This won't be used against you or in favor of you for your assessment that you just gave. And then press next. And then if you have additional comments, any feedback, you can provide that as well in a written response. And once you've done that, you can press submit. Thank you for watching this video. Hopefully after watching this video, you will be able to ace your Amazon work style assessment test. In case you found value from this video, I'm sure you'll find value from another video where I talk about how you can go about introducing yourself in an interview. Because after clearing this test, there's a great chance you will land an interview. There is another video where I talk about how you can go about controlling your nerves in an interview. You can check those videos out here. Thank you.